Nice to meet you, François.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So please tell us about what you have been involved and what's your role in the company.
Yeah, sure. So I've been working for Arturia for the past year and a half.
Yeah.
And my work is, the title of my work is Product Manager of Plugins. So basically, my main role is to define what will be the next steps for the effects. And by defining, I mean talking to the right people, asking them questions about their use of audio gear, finding the right tendencies, sum everything, and try to find the right ideas to make the best products possible. And after this part of like user research and all that, define every single aspect of the plugin. So this knob is going to be positioned at this specific spot. It's going to be a 24 dB per octave filter that goes from 300 Hertz to whatever. Detail every single feature so that the engineers that are developing the plugin can have a basis to do their work. So that's it. And at the very end, I'm also coordinating and helping our marketing team to find the right messaging and everything to have the best launch possible for the plugins.
That's amazing. And I always feel like Arturia, since they came up with the effects collection, it was just like, this is what I need. And first of all, I was a bit like skeptical because I knew them for the synths.
Yeah.
I was like, are they going to be good with effects? And it was like, yes. And it's like one of my go-to collections, and it's just mind-blowing how clear and the quality of the sound and all the advanced features is like, it makes it surpass the other plugins, because sometimes you use another brand and you are like, this sound is amazing, but I want to tweak it, and you can't. So like all the advanced features and things like that is really cool. How, you just told me before that you were involved with that the fragments was your idea.
Yeah.
So please tell us, how did you come up with the idea, and how did you convince Arturia to make it?
Well, so first of all, I have to be fair with that. It wasn't, the idea of doing a granular effect wasn't mine at the very beginning.
Yeah.
We have a guy here, really talented guy, another product manager, who's currently working on an amazing project, who work on Microfreak. He has this crazy idea of doing a granular effect. He wanted to do it, but unfortunately, he didn't have enough time to spend on a new effect. So when I arrived a year and a half ago, everybody wanted me to get involved on this project. So I got this idea of making a granular effect, and then I had like the whole possibility spectrum. Like I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. So I did a few user research, I looked at the competition, and I found like every single blocking point that I had with other granular processors, and I've tried to address them individually. Like, so I look at this one and it lacks this feature. How can I tackle that and try to have it the most streamlined as possible? So we had this beautiful granular engine that has been developed for pigments at the very beginning.
Yeah.
That sounds just amazing. And the very beginning of the project was, okay, let's discuss with the engineer and try to find how we can process audio through this processor. It's meant to use samples. Let's try to process live audio through it.
Yeah.
So we had a first prototype that sounded really awesome, but we had like a shitload of parameters in front of us, and it was unusable. So the first work was to try to define, okay, let's try to get the essential, make it as straightforward as possible, and the most important part was, I really wanted to have a rhythmic mode in fragments.
Yeah.
Something that can be tempo synced, that can trigger grains on very specific step. And this was the main idea around fragments, is having one mode which was really dedicated to making melodies and texture and stuff, and the other one which was dedicated to making rhythmic sequences. And that was my idea of having a sequencer that could trigger grains on very specific steps and repeat them and doing some crazy stutter and bit repeat things. And I think this is, probably the most interesting part about fragments, like this rhythmical mode that you can't really find on other granular processes.
Yeah.
So,
and I also love how the fan engine it has is like, wow. I sometimes even use it like only for like if I need like a auto pan or something like that, I just put that on.
Wow, amazing.
And how like the granular mixed with the reverbs and the effects that it comes with makes it more versatile, and it's like you don't have to use several plugins at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of a all-in-one creative effect.
Yeah.
If you even though you don't even have to use the granular engine, you can like just use the 2 FX slots, and with the various routings and stuff, you can do some crazy things. But yeah, the most fun part, I think, and if you are using fragments out here, I would really recommend you to try. It's just to put the effects in the feedback loop. I don't know if you've tried that, but
I don't think so.
So you have a feedback knob on top of the interface, and you can put any effect you want inside that feedback loop.
Oh.
So basically, you just emit grains, you process them, and you feed them back inside the buffer.
And they become grains again.
Yeah, grains again and again and again, and it feedbacks in like again and again. And using comp filters and distortion and stuff, you can really create some chaotic tones that are just so great for sound design purposes.
Yeah, of course. And something that I also use it a lot is if I'm doing like a minimalist production or mix, and I feel like I need depth, I normally duplicate the channel and add the fragments, and it usually fills up the whole thing. I mean, sometimes you just don't have to touch anything, and it just works so good.
That first patch, like ocean sweep.
Oh my god,
sounds amazing all the time.
It's like a shimmer. Ocean, yeah. Are you a mix engineer as well?
No, I mean, I wouldn't define myself as a mix engineer. That said, I'm really interested in like mixing music and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have enough space in my apartment to do like proper mixing and stuff. But yeah, I'm really into it anyway. I've been mixing music for the past 5 or 6 years, really. And I mean, nowadays when you are producing, you are mixing at the same time in some ways. So yeah, I'm really into it. Yeah.
And what other plugins have you worked on?
So for recently we've released FX Collection 3, which includes fragments. You've been talking about it earlier. We have Melofy inside, Tape Melofy, which is a tape simulator based on a Mellotron. So if you don't know it, the Mellotron used to be like the ancestor of the samplers. We have one right here, and unfortunately we can't film it, but it's a very massive 70s piece of gear full of tapes inside, and people were recording sounds onto these tapes and playing them back. And it has a very, very lo-fi character, so we've tried to get the best of the Mellotron, process audio through it, and make it get a lo-fi plugin, which works beautifully, I think.
Yes,
it has some nice features like tape stop things, all that. And also in FX Collection 3, we have 2 very new products that have been released for FX Collection, which are Dist Tube Culture, which is software recreation of the thermionic cultivator. I don't know. No, it's not here.
Not here.
And the second one is Opam 21, recreation of the Sans Amp Classic. Used by Chad Blake and many guys.
More flexible than the Sans Amp.
With the advanced features and stuff, of course, it really helps. And the modern mode.
And the mix feature. I mean.
Of course. It's so much easier when you put it on a bus and
How does it normally work? The whole process and the whole team of people from an idea to launching the product?
Well, the process is kind of, so now we have a real process for all that. The way it works is we define a roadmap for the next year and a half.
Right.
And on these roadmaps, we have specific times when we know we want to launch products. This is the way it works in many companies. You have to have a roadmap just to embrace everyone in the company onto the projects and stuff. So we know these dates and quite a lot of time in advance. And then we are starting, as I told you earlier, the user research. So this is a process that takes about 2 months, I would say. And I would call YouTubers like you, or mixing engineers, or our users, or whatever, to find the right ideas. And then I present them to the managers in the company. So marketing guys, the CEO, the finance, the sales team, the R&D.
And try to convince them.
Yeah, as hard as I can, I try to convince them. So yeah, EFX fragment is going to be amazing, and this is a phase that we call a go no go.
Yeah.
It's a go no go meeting, and either you get a go or no go, and then you postpone it or you just cancel it.
Right.
Usually we have a go because the projects are amazing.
Yeah.
And the development starts. People who are involved in the development are mainly DSP engineers, so digital signal processing engineers. As well as software engineers who are taking the codes from the DSP guys and putting them inside the GUI to simplify things a lot. And yeah, the development of a plugin can take from 3 months to a year, depending on the complexity and stuff.
Yeah.
Audio plugins, by the way. The synths are longer projects sometimes. And yeah, in the end, marketing, PRs and all that.
I'm a huge fan of the compressors that you have. The 76 is just one of the best recreations out there. The reverbs, the intensity is like, wow. Like I normally use it like sometimes with the decay like almost in zero.
Yeah.
Just to like make a snare fat and wide. And it's like instant.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Are you using the first preset on intensity or not? Like the very first you get when you open the plugin?
Yeah, but I always I always do the same kind of tweaks.
Yeah.
So it's like I put the clip on, saturated, a little bit of modulation, dampening usually because I don't like that much of the high end of the reverbs in general. Pre-delay almost always.
Yeah.
And then I start playing with the decay and using the LFO it has for the decay, and that's wow.
What's really funny with intensity is that a lot of people just stay on the first preset and just tweak a few parameters here and there, and it sounds so good that it works in many different scenarios. Yeah, again, you just have to sometimes lower the decay or the size of the reverb, but it's so much of a good starting point to do some sound design stuff and all that. It's quite funny.
But were you suggesting like other presets?
Every time we release a plugin, we are trying to find the best first preset possible for this specific plugin. Usually, depending on the effects, if you take fragments, it's a very lush, shimmery reverb and stuff. It has to be beautiful and inspiring, and same goes for intensity. For compressors, we're trying to have something that is very neutral at the very beginning, and then the more you get to increase the threshold, the more compression you get. Same for the distortions. We've tried to have quite subtle first presets, but then as soon as you increase the gain, you're in totally different territory. So I would say that the 10 to 15 first presets in the plugins are usually the one that we find the best soundings, the most inspiring, and that showcase the best the different effects.
And are you planning on doing that one?
For you guys, this is an overstayer modular channel. It's a studio rack unit that has a filter, a compressor, distortion, and that can do some crazy parallel series routing.
And there aren't many emulations of it.
No, there are not. But what's funny is that we were planning on doing that, and in the end, it was a little bit frustrating in the software environment. So we did our own, and BuzzForce is actually our interpretation of that.
Oh, I didn't know that it was supposed to be BuzzForce. I love it.
Yeah, it's really complete. It's a bit complex, to be fair. The different routing options, but this is also really complex. You can chain the various, tracks in various orders, and it's kind of counterintuitive at first. Yeah. But then once you get used to it, it's really powerful. And BuzzForce is basically our interpretation of that. So the compressor can do some crazy stuff like negative ratio, all that. That works really well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that's pretty much it.
I use the BuzzForce a lot. Sometimes not even for buses, just for individual, like for the vocal lead channel and things like that, or for drum buses. I always like how it positions the audio in a different place of the I have a way of visualizing like the frequencies, and when I'm switching between a reference mix and my mix, I'm always trying to see where the bass is, the drums, and I always feel like every time I put it on, it goes right where it has to be. So it's fantastic, and the distortion for vocals is amazing, and the compressor, even if you use it like a titchy bit, it's a huge difference. I mean, it's one of the best sounding compressors I've found.
Yeah, that's really funny because when we were working on Buzzforce. Shout out to Martin, by the way, who was the product manager on Buzzforce back then. When we first got the final product, we've sent it to very famous sound engineers like Joe Barresi, Tiago Baggio, like all these guys. And I don't remember which one of them it was. I'm sorry for that, but and he sent us a message saying, "Oh my God, it's so good to process vocals." And when we were working on it, we had no idea that people would even use it to process vocals. And in the end, when you think about it, you have everything you need. Like you have an EQ, you have a compressor, you have a distortion that can be slight or that can be really hardcore. And this possibility to mix the dry signal and the wet and stuff and manage everything, it does make a lot of sense to process vocals that way.
Of course,
and so it was really, really pleasant to see that. And I think we have a quote on our website about this guy. I don't remember who it was, but yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what's your favorite plugin that you didn't make inside of the Effect Collection?
That I didn't make. Inside FX Collection, I would say, well, one of my favorite one is the Spring Reverb, Spring 636. It's a recreation of a kind of a niche spring reverb that is the Grand Pion spring reverb. It was overly used in old dub music, reggae, and all that, and it has an amazing character. Like the preamp, it's a Germanium preamp inside. When you drive it, it has a character that is unique, just unique. And I just love this plugin so bad. Like, it works on pretty much everything for which you need to add some character and vibe and everything. And sometimes with a very small decay or whatever, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing on guitars, it sounds amazing on drums. And again, shout out to Martin who worked on this project. I love this plugin. Yeah,
that plugin I remember was one of the first ones they recommended to me of the Effects Collection. And the recommendation came from one of the best audio engineers in Argentina. And he was like, I don't use it for a reverb, I just put it like a preamp, put it on a drum and saturate the hell out of it. And it's like, yes.
The way we've replicated the preamp is so accurate that I went to one of the best studios in Paris called Motor Bass. It's a studio that has been owned for years by Philippe Zdar, who was one of the members of Cassius, but also the producer of Phoenix, The Rapture, the Beastie Boys, and everything. And unfortunately, Philippe passed away about 3 to 4 years ago. But the guys who are still working there are using our plugins, and they have an actual Grand Pion reverb. And they told me, it is so good that we use quite a lot more your plugin than the original because we can process multiple tracks at the same time, and it sounds so good and so close to the original that this is the best compliment I could ever get for FX Collection. When you get this kind of approval, it's so good.
And I love it that it's so, you have the creative and the utility side of it, so combined like in the perfect match. Thanking you is not enough for all of the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
I mean, give a huge thanks to the whole team. And do you have any great, anything you can tell us that's coming up?
Well, our goal for the next few years is to increase the part of creative effects in the mix of FX Collection. I can't tell you too much. We're still working on it a lot. But great things are coming, I think, and I'm still in the definition of the upcoming project. So stay tuned. We're gonna have some amazing stuff coming up.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for all of this great information.
You're welcome.
It's always nice to have like the insights of everything.
Sure.